Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm back again with a new video for you. Um, Today, I'm back with part 4 of England's most successful football club, where I take you through um, and help you find out who the most successful football club is in English football history. Um, anyway, before we get into that, I just want to say I hope you're all well and fine and free of COVID and not like me, absolutely reeling from the fact that our wonderful Prime Minister has decided to put the area I live in tier 3 of the coronavirus restrictions. Um, and prior to the national lockdown that we recently had, we were in the lowest tier. So how that works, I really don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. Um, but just say, if wherever you are, whatever the restrictions are, please make sure that you stick to them and don't do anything silly. And hopefully, we all soon, once we get the vaccine on board, we can finally kick this evil virus into touch. Anyway, I hope you have a great day and that you enjoy my video. So thanks a lot, and let's carry on. Okay, so the first team I want to talk to you about today is York City. Now, York City are quite famous because of their exploits in the FA Cup in the 1980s, but we'll talk about that in a little while. Anyway, and it is a ground that I visited previously with Maidstone United. But I'll be talking to you about what happened then and in a video another day. When I talk to you about all the different grounds that I visited throughout my time watching football. Anyway, so this club was formed in 1908 originally. Played in non-league football up until the club folded in 1917. But then a new club was formed in 1922 and joined the Football League in 1929. In 1953, they managed to finish fourth in Tier 3, and they played in the third tier, however, until 1959 when they were promoted for the first time. Now, I can hear some of you saying, well, why weren't they promoted in 53? Now, as I said to you in a previous video, I believe, the reason for this was because at that time in the 50s, English football in Tier 3 had two divisions, one for the northern clubs and one for the southern clubs. And only at that time, only two teams were relegated from Tier 2 into Tier 3. And so therefore, what the Football League did was to say that one team would be promoted from Third Division North, Tier 3, and one team would be promoted from Tier 3, Third Division South. And both of those teams were the champions. So this explains why, although finishing fourth, they were never promoted. And this issue will come up with a number of other clubs that I'm going to talk to you about today. Anyway, in 1955, they reached the FA Cup semi-final when they played Newcastle United. In the first game they played, it ended in a 1-1 draw. So it went to a replay, which unfortunately they lost 2-0 at Roker Park. And also that season, they finished fourth in Tier 3. In 1959, York only missed out on promotion to, only missed out on second place in Tier 4 on goal average, and were promoted for the first time in third place. So they won promotion out of Tier 4 up into Tier 3. In 1965, they achieved their second promotion after finishing third in Tier 4. They then fluctuated between the third and fourth divisions before spending 2 seasons in the second division in the 1970s, obviously Tier 2. In 1971, they won promotion with a fourth place finish in Tier 4. And then in 1974, York was successful in finishing third in Tier 3. In 1993, York ended a 5-year spell in the fourth tier by finishing fourth in Tier 4 and by gaining promotion to Tier 3 via the playoffs after they beat Crewe Alexandra at Wembley 5-3 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. In 1984, they won the Tier 4 title with 101 points, and therefore they became the first Football League team to achieve a 3-figure points total in a season. The following season, in 1985, they beat Arsenal 1-0 in the FA Cup fourth round when Keith Houchins scored a rather dubious, in my opinion, 89th minute penalty. In the next round, they were drawn to play against Liverpool, who were the current European champions. At the time. And that game ended in a 1-1 draw at York's ground. They then obviously followed a replay at Anfield, which unfortunately for York, they lost 7-0. The following season, which was also York City's heaviest ever cup defeat. The following season, they did play Liverpool again in the FA Cup and again drew 1-1 at home before the game went to a replay, but this game was a lot more fiercely contested and York City eventually lost 3-1 after extra time. York City first played at Wembley Stadium in 1993 when they won the third division's playoff final. And at the end of the 2003-2004 season, they unfortunately lost their place in the Football League after being relegated from the third. And they returned to the Football League in 2012. So that's York City. That's their story. It's quite an interesting one, I think. Anyway, so if you have any interesting stories or facts that you'd like to share with me about York City, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll be interested to find out more about them. So the next team I want to talk about today is Darwin. Now, Darwin are from the north of England and they were formed in 1870 and they were one of the first clubs to be formed that were from the north of England. They come from Lancashire, obviously in the north of England, and they were Football League members from 1891 to 1899, and then from 1900 to 2009, when they were disbanded, they played in regional non-league football. In 1881, they reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And then in 1893, Darwin finished third in Tier 2 of the English Football League. And then they were elected to Tier 1 after beating Notts County 3-2 in a test match, which, as far as I can see, is something similar to the modern day playoffs. The three bottom teams from Tier 1 and the three top teams from Tier 2, played in like a series of test matches, which would help decide which teams would be promoted or relegated in from tiers 1 to tiers 2 for the next season. Okay, so the next club I want to talk about today is Hartlepool United. Now, Hartlepool United were founded in 1908 as Hartlepool United Football Athletic Company, which I have to say I think is a bit of a mouthful. So I'm really glad that they changed their name. Imagine standing on the terraces and trying to see, come on, you Hartlepool's Football Athletic Company. Jesus, that's way too much. Anyway, so they played their home games. They've always played their home games at Victoria Park. Now, I've been to Hartlepool's ground. And again, that's another one that I'm going to talk to you about when I talk to you about the grounds that I visited. Because it was, I think we've been there twice. We went there with Maidstone United. And honestly, it was one of the most bizarre and mad things that I've ever seen at a football match. So I'm looking forward to telling you about that. Anyway, so they've always played at the Victoria Park. Just to let you know, the ground is sort of across the road from the beach, which is on the coast of the North Sea. Anyway, they had a club mascot, or they do have a club mascot. I'm not really sure. So if anyone can clarify this for me, I'll be really grateful. But the club mascot, called H. Angus the monkey, was elected mayor in 2002, the Hartlepool Borough Council election. The club also has a famous supporter who is none other than Sky Sports presenter Jeff Stelling. Also, between 1965 and 67, they were managed by the one and only Brian Clough. I'm not really sure what his record was like as manager there, but I'm sure it couldn't have been dull. This time at Hull, I'm sure it wasn't dull by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, they were elected into the Football League, into Tier 3 in 1921, and stayed in the 3rd Division North until 1968, when they were placed into the newly formed 4th Division. But during this time, in 1921, they managed a 4th place finish in Tier 3. In 1956, they were successful in finishing 4th in Tier 3. And then in 1957, they finished 2nd in Tier 3, but did not win the promotion on either occasion, because at that time, only the champions of the 3rd Division South and North were promoted to Tier 2. They went on to win promotion in 1968 out of Tier 4 into Tier 3, when they were known as Hartlepool United after finishing 3rd in Tier 4, but were relegated back to Tier 4 in the following season. Now, this thing about Hartlepool's United, up until I started researching for this series that I'm doing with you, I just thought it was people getting confused about the name. I didn't actually realise they were called Hartlepool United at some point. So, yeah, that's quite interesting, I guess. In 1991, they won promotion from Tier 4 after finishing 3rd that season. And in 2001, they finished 4th in Tier 4, but they unfortunately lost 5-1 on aggregate to Blackpool in the playoff semi-final. And then in 2003 and 2007, Hartlepool finished 2nd in Tier 4, but on both occasions they won promotion to Tier 3. Now, Hartlepool were relegated into the National League in 2017, which ended their 96-year run in the Football League. So, yeah, that's Hartlepool. They finished 97th in my list and managed to accumulate 117 points. The next club today is Gateshead, who finished equal 96th on my list, and they managed to accumulate 120 points. Now, the original Gateshead club was formed in 1899 as South Shields Adelaide, and they became members of the Football League in 1919. However, in 1930, financial problems led to the club being moved to Gateshead, where they adopted the name of their new town. However, unfortunately, the club was voted out of the Football League in 1960 and folded in 1973. Now, Gateshead FC was formed in 1997 after, obviously, as I mentioned, Gateshead United folded. The club are known as the Tynesiders or the Heed, and it seems that between 1930 to 1960, they had a previous incarnation, as I said, of Gateshead AFC, which played in the English Football League. In 1932 and 1950, they finished second in Tier 3, and on neither occasion did they win promotion to Tier 2 because of the way that promotion and relegation worked between Tier 3 and Tier 2 at that time. In 1948 and 1954, they were successful in finishing fourth in Tier 3, but did not win promotion. And again, the reason for that was because of what I just said about the way that promotion and relegation worked between Tier 3 and Tier 2 at that time. Okay, so the next club, Colchester United, finished equal 96th in my list with Gateshead, the team we spoke about just now. And they managed to, again, as Gateshead did, accumulate 120 points. Now, the club was formed in 1937. Excuse me. They were elected to the Football League in 1950. Now, between 1950 and 1990, they spent their time between Tiers 3 and Tiers 4 of the English Football League. And were arguably their most famous moment came in 1971 when they beat Don Revie's Dirty Leeds side 3-2 in the FA Cup 5th round. And then in 1957, they finished third in Tier 3 in the 3rd Division South, but they didn't win promotion because of the way that promotion and relegation worked, which I've mentioned about several times in previous when talking about previous other clubs today and in previous videos. In 1961, they won promotion to Tier 3 after finishing second in Tier 2. And then in 1966, they won promotion to Tier 3 after finishing fourth in Tier 4. In 1974 and 77, they achieved third place finishes in Tier 4, and on both occasions they won promotion to Tier 3. In 1997, they lost 4-3 on penalties to Carlisle United in the EFL Trophy final at Wembley Stadium. Then in 1998, they won promotion to Tier 3 after beating Torquay in the playoff final 1-0 after finishing fourth in Tier 4. In 2006, the club were promoted to Tier 2 after finishing second in Tier 3. And the following season, they achieved their highest ever league finish in the club history by finishing 10th in Tier 2. Okay, well, the next club today, Milton Keynes Dons. They finished 94th in my list and managed to accumulate 122 points. The club were founded in 2004, as you can see by the Roman numerals down there. Anyway, so yeah, they were founded in 2004 after Wimbledon moved to Milton Keynes from South London after they vacated their ground at Plough Lane. Now, in 2008, the club won the Tier 4 title and Football League trophy after beating Grimsby 2-0 at Wembley Stadium under the management of Paul Ince. And then in 2009, they finished third in Tier 3 and then lost to Scunthorpe United 7-6 on penalties in the playoffs. The club won promotion to Tier 2 in 2015 after finishing second in Tier 3, but were then relegated back to Tier 3 the following season. Milton Keynes Dons finished fourth in Tier 4 in 2006 and 7, but lost in the playoffs to Shrewsbury Town. And then in 2018-19, they finished third in Tier 4 and were promoted to Tier 3. Now, I'm not sure if this is right, but I do believe that Dele Alli, the Tottenham player, also played for Milton Keynes Dons, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So if someone does know whether that's true or not, please let me know in the comments below. That'd be quite interesting to find out. Anyway, so that's Milton Keynes' story. Cambridge United finished 93rd in my list and accumulated 141 points. Now, Cambridge United entered the Football League in 1970, so they're relatively new compared with some of their counterparts. And then won promotion in 1973 after finishing third in Tier 4. But then, unfortunately, they were relegated the following season. They won the Tier 4 title in 1977 to win promotion, and then followed this up with promotion out of Tier 3 the following season by finishing second. They then stayed in Tier 2 for 6 seasons before they suffered consecutive relegations. The club won the Tier 4 playoffs in 1990, which is a bit of a sore point for me because they lost in the they beat Maidstone United in the semi-finals, who at the time I was co-editor of the fanzine for. I used to go around the country following them, which was highly enjoyable watching Maidstone, but I'll talk about that another time. So they beat Maidstone United over 2 legs in the semi-finals. The first game they won 1-0, if I remember correctly, after a very dubious corner was taken and they managed to score. They managed to score the winning goal from a penalty after a very, very dubious decision, in my opinion. Basically, what happened when the ball came over, I think it was Dion Dublin, pushed Mark Golly, the Maidstone United centre-back, in the back. And because he fell forward, his hands flew up in the air and made contact with the ball. And the referee deemed it was a deliberate handball. And there you go. What more can I say about that? Anyway, so they won promotion to Tier 3. The next season, they won the Tier 3 title to win promotion to Tier 2. And in their next season in Tier 2, they lost 6-1 to Leicester City in the Tier 2 playoff semi-finals. The club then finished third in Tier 4 in 1999 and were promoted to Tier 3. in 2002, the club were runners up to Blackpool in the EFL Trophy at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Okay, so now we move on to Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley, as far as I can tell, there have been two incarnations of Accrington Stanley Football Club. The first one was in the Football League between 1921 and 1962. The club then unfortunately folded, and then they were reformed in 1968, which was obviously 2 years after the original one collapsed. Now, the first incarnation of Accrington Stanley achieved two second place finishes in 1955 and 1958 in Tier 3, but didn't win promotion because of the way that promotion and relegation worked between Tier 3 and Tier 2 at that time. The same thing happened again in 1956 and 67, again in Tier 3, and for the same reasons they didn't win promotion. Accrington Stanley have also spent their entire history playing at the Crown Ground in Accrington, and the club are arguably most famous for their television advert. Well, not their television advert, a television advert that was put out by the Milk Marketing Board to encourage youngsters to drink milk. And it featured the slogan, Accrington Stanley, who are they? So, yeah, that was an awful Scouse accent. It sounded more like a Brummie one, didn't it? But still, there you go. Anyway, I've put a link to that advert so you can see it because it is quite funny. I put a link for that advert in the description for this video, so go and check that out because it is quite funny. They did win the Conference National in 2006 to win promotion to the Football League, because they were out of the Football League for quite a while. And then they spent 12 seasons mostly in the bottom half of the table in Tier 4 before winning promotion into Tier 3 as Tier 4 champions in 2018. In 2015-16, Accrington Stanley finished 4th in Tier 4 but lost 3-2 to AFC Wimbledon in the playoffs. Okay, so the next club today is Crewe Alexandra. Now, Crewe Alexandra were formed in 1877 and were apparently named after Princess Alexandra. And the club also has strong links with the railway industry, hence why they have the nickname of the Railwaymen. In 1892, the club were founder members of the Football League Second Division, and then between 1921 and 1958 they played in the Third Division North, which was the third tier of the English Football League. And then when the Fourth Division was formed, they were moved to the newly formed Fourth Division. Finally, the last team today is a team by the name of Old Carthusians. I hope I've said that properly. They finished in 90th place on my list, and they finished on 150 points, which is no mean feat, I guess. Anyway, Old Carthusians FC players were former pupils of Charterhouse School in Godalming in Surrey. The club was formed in 1876 and won the FA Cup 5 years later in 1881. When Old Carthusians beat Old Etonians 3-0 in the final on the 9th of April 1881. The game was played at the Kennington Oval, which was quite a common venue for the FA Cup final in those days. And the game was played in front of a crowd of just 4,000 people. This was also Old Carthusian's first appearance in the final. So, yeah, that's quite an interesting one, really. Okay, everyone. Well, that's it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed my video and you found it interesting and informative. Don't forget, there'll be another video out. Well, the next series part 5 of England's most successful football club will be out next Saturday, which I hope you enjoy. Anyway, until then, I hope you have a great week, and please don't forget to like the video or dislike it. And if you've got any interesting information about any of the clubs that were featured today, please let me know in the comments below, or if there's anything you want to say about the video or the series so far, please do. Or if there's anything that you'd like me to record a video about, please mention that as well. I'll be always very interested to hear you, and I will definitely respond to all your comments. Anyway, so that's it. But until next week, please stay safe and stay healthy and have a good time. And please remember to follow all the restrictions so that hopefully we can kick this evil coronavirus nonsense into touch. Anyway, take care, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. And like I said, don't forget, I'm going to put links in the description to the Warrens Team Talk Facebook page, where I've posted information about the point system I use to calculate what teams finished where in my list, and also a link to the Milk Marketing Board advert from, I think it was the 80s, which is quite funny, and I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, take care, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.